the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval, amendment of meeting agenda items.
I believe we are good to go as presented.
I move that we approve the agenda for January 11th, 2016 as presented.
Second.
We moved and seconded to approve the meeting agenda items. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Approval of minutes.
I move that we approve the agenda, well, not the agenda, the minutes from the December 14th meeting. I think that
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor? Aye. Correspondence.
I have none.
Public comment. Reports. ASB report.
So, we haven't done a ton around the school lately, but in December, basketball and wrestling and all the sports started, winter sports, and wrestling won their tournament last weekend, and basketball's been doing pretty decently. And then ski team actually has snow this year, so they get to practice, and so they have their first meet this weekend, I believe. Last weekend. They have another one this weekend. And SWAT classes have been having our meetings on Thursdays. We do SWAT, and we talk about bullying and how older students and teachers and the community can help prevent it, and like how we can set examples for it. In December, we did food boxes for the food share, an ugly sweater competition that Kyle Dieter and Brett Graham won. And Mr. Glassman and Mr. Hamilton won for the teachers. And then we also did door decorating, which Christy Reese won, and June Alberton Dick won with their doors. And then we had the turkey shoot, which you got to shoot 10 free throws, and the people who made the most got a free turkey, turkey. And I'm like, not a live one, but people asked me that. They're like, do we get a live one? No, a live turkey. So, yeah, and Evan Reese won for the staff, and then for the students, Megan Reese, Connor Stewart, and Con Frank. Avid got to go sledding at the ski hill. They had a lot of fun with that. They left and they all went and went sledding, and they had a great time. And at the end of the month, we have finals, and our new semester starts in February. And that's about it.
Is there any questions? Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
These back. 8.2, facilities update.
Well, she witnessed the bus shop this evening. It's nearly finished, and we're very happy about that. We're very happy to have that. Why the winter situation that Mr. Roberts has a nice warm place to fix our buses now, so that's very good. New bleachers are getting lots of use. This DMS project, we put it out for RFP bids that were due last week, but with the addition of some other items related to the elevator shaft and everything, the bidding process was delayed until this Thursday, January 14th, so the bids will be open at that time. Anything else to go on that?
We're probably looking at asbestos in the stairwell again. So that is being looked at prior to the contractors getting awarded the bid. We'll probably award the bid, but the asbestos work will have to come first, obviously. So that's a new update there. Other than that, we don't have any idea about the elevator as of yet, obviously, since we delayed a week. Next month, I should probably have some final figures on that bus barn, as we just paid a couple of the other bills out to Thornton Builders, and then we have a retainage that needs to be paid out, so that'll be paid out by end of this month. So we'll have final figures there, probably the next meeting. And I think the bleachers have all been taken care of, so that's done and did. And I think that's about it, yes.
I believe so.
I think so.
Let's throw maintenance into it. Mr. Damon has been busy pushing lots and lots and lots of snow.
Yeah.
Removing lots and lots of bicycles.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think we've been doing a pretty decent job of staying ahead of it, so. That's facility report.
Our thanks to John too, that was,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
that's great to see that.
Yep. So,
Okay, Healthy Teen Survey.
Ms. Chavez.
Is it okay if I just sit here so I can flip through all this paper? I'll drop it.
There's a lot.
Lots of paper there, yeah.
So my plan was to kind of just review, just kind of touch on what the Oregon Healthy Teen Survey is, look at a few areas of data, and then open it up for questions, okay? Because there is a lot, and I know you guys have it, but it is a lot of information. So this is the 2015. The survey's done every other year. I think we were a part of like the, there was another survey we did last year, but we should just do these every other year is how they are. So this year's 9th and 12th graders, so it would have been last year's 8th and 11th. So it's always 8th and 11th grade. Several years ago, they had 6th grade involved, but they took 6th grade out, and I never saw anything why they stopped doing 6th grade. Did you,
No,
Mr. Kane?
being in Hay last year, I didn't, as a principal, I used to receive the notification we were going to be doing the Healthy Teen Survey. I heard nothing last year.
Yeah, I think it
It's
kind of
like
just
a mixed
surprised
ball.
us.
So,
Yeah, so it's a comprehensive, school-based, anonymous, test. We chose to do the paper pencil because we could have done the computer-based one, but we're testing and doing stuff, their labs are so full that it's just easier in the spring for us to do paper pencil. So I, did the administration of that test for both 8th grade and 11th grade. Because it's come up, are the kids serious, do they take it serious? And they do, I mean, they seem to take it very serious. They follow the directions, they're very quiet. A student hands out all the tests, and then there's a manila envelope, and they just put them back in that manila envelope. There's no identifying information on that, so that's how they're anonymous. So no names, I seal those up and send them straight back. So we don't even have, we have nothing to do with just administering and getting it out to them. It's basically to look at, the habits of teenagers in the state of Oregon. And, research shows that healthy teens, they have higher grades, better attendance, they have, their test scores are higher, they're less apt to skip school or to drop out of school. So it's a way that the state can look at, like the agencies in our community look at, what they can do to provide interventions. That's how they get funding. It helps the school do some school-wide planning to look at where we need to look at things. I tell the kids this, and I think it's important because they like to see the data, and so we'll probably show it to them as a group later on this year. But it's just a snapshot. So it's just those kids at that time that are taking the test and that day. The same kids a month later may answer their questions differently. So it's just a snapshot, and it's just one way to look at where our youth are at. So when we looked at the general health, the one that stuck out for me was that our kids have been saying that they have either a teacher or an adult in the school that really cares about them. And so that has been consistent over the last few years that I've noticed when we've given these. And our kids this last year said very much true, and that was both the 8th grade and 11th grade. there was also a piece about, in the last 12 months, looking at emotional or mental health. And the 8th grade were above average, saying that their needs are met. But the high school said they felt that when you look at the state comparison, that their needs weren't as much met in that area as the 8th graders said theirs were. And then when you look at days missed in school over the last 12 months, because of emotional or mental health reasons, both our 8th and 9th grade were above the state average. Then they said that they had none, so the answer was like a none selection or 1 to 2, and they said that none, they missed no days because of that. And then we were below the state average on 1 to 2 days, so our kids are not missing school for those reasons. So nutrition, there was quite a big group, you guys probably noticed, about nutrition and talked a lot about different health issues. And so I picked out one that kind of hits home for middle school and high school kids, and that was during the past 7 days, how many times did you drink energy drinks such as Red Bull, Rockstar, or Monster? Because I know that discussion comes up a lot. And 0 times in the past 7 days, our 8th and 11th graders said. So the majority of our kids said they had not. And then looking at physical activity, in an average week when you're in school, on how many days do you go to a physical ed PE class? So for 8th and 11th graders, it was overwhelming that our kids go 5 days. So the majority of our kids are in a PE, a strength and conditioning, middle school. All our middle school takes PE. So when it comes to the physical health, we're doing a really good job. A lot of the other statistics for the state, kids don't have PE, or they're not taking it every day like our students are. And then personal safety. During the past 30 days, have you been bullied by someone using any kind of social media, cell phones, or video games? 8th and 11th grade were, we were below average in the state. Really a strong statistic here that social media, cell phones, video games were not a part of the bullying. I threw gambling in because Debbie Utley, I think it might have been last year, she gave you guys some results before she retired from the prevention program. And so she had gambling there, so I just kind of threw it in. So it gave the kids, when you look at that page, it's page 41, it's a whole list of different gambling, ways you can gamble. And so both our 8th and 11th graders in the last 30 days said that they do bet on sports teams and that they're betting on games of personal skills like video games or bowling. So we were above state average on those for gambling. So that's kind of new for us. I mean, that's kind of a new item in this test as well. But I know that it comes up. I know there's a lot more prevention around that. So I thought that was a good statistic to put in there for you guys.
It seemed like they weren't betting for money though. Was that one of the questions?
Well, the question said that they would have betted for some kind of token or money or something, so the question did say that one. Another one might not have.
Anything. I think there was one
That said, yeah.
money, a watch, soda.
And it might have been for a candy bar or
Well, and I'm wondering how they're playing lottery tickets.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have
that's
the
the
AT&T play.
well, they're pretty strict with that, so probably maybe older people are helping.
Right. That's what the commenting was to get from older people. Yeah, okay.
And so then I know that we, over the years, have talked about tobacco and marijuana use, so I wanted to finish with those two. So I pulled out the, during the past 30 days, on how many days did you have at least one drink of alcohol. So grade 8, 0 days, our 8th graders, 79.6% said that there were 0 days, that they had not. The state was 88.1. For grade 11, our district, it was 48.0 had not, and the state was 70.9. And then for marijuana use, it was the same, it was during that past 30 days, on how many days did you use marijuana, or, I have a hard time with this one, hashish, is that how you say it? So grade 8 was, for 0 days, our district was 94.4, and the state was 91.2. And grade 11 for 0 days was 76.5, and the state was 80.9%. So, I thought about it, and Steve and I talked about, and Randy and I talked about, you know, what do we do if we look at all these things for this community? I mean, I think we have really good community support through our mental health services, our mentor program, our homework support classes, I think elementary on up, I think having PASS, homework clubs, just our teachers available really help the kids to have that support. Athletics, AVID has been a great program in our district. I think we're gonna see, our hope is, we'll see the bullying change with the AVID program. We're gonna spend this year really addressing different issues, and we're already seeing it in some areas before. Mental health, their prevention program, they're continuing to have a program. I think every year they'll relook at this. They look at services and you know, what they need to provide in our community. Last year, in the spring at the school board meeting, for those of you that were on the school board last year, we use Response for a suicide prevention program or an intervention program in the school district. And it's, you know, our staff, we do training every year, and then our students have it in their health classes. There's a parent piece to that program as well. So, can I answer any questions, or, I know I went fast.
When was this study done again?
So it was done last spring,
Okay,
and so we received it this fall.
be interesting to track the trend with the marijuana, with the legalization of it.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, when Debbie Ebbett came to the school board, she had a graph that had several years of this study. So I have a copy of that, so we can look at that. And now that with the change in that, we can look at that, yeah.
Where are we at historically for alcohol? Are we up from where we've been in the past? Are we close to
I think we're close to where we are. We're rural, we're always a little higher, if you look at that. So I think we're pretty close to where we have been. There wasn't a real drastic increase.
Mine was just a comment, and maybe correlates a little bit with the alcohol use. So we are fantastic on sports, and I love all the programs that are coming up. You know, the AVID and the anti-bullying program. But just personally speaking, I was never in sports. I'm clumsy. I was in movie theater closing, and I don't know what the answer is, but it seems like there could also be some sort of other little niche for kids to do, an outlet that, you know, that's a,
Are you aware of the new youth activity center that just opened across from the courthouse?
no, I'm not.
They took over
Everyone else?
the old Masonic building, and it's now a youth center, complete with video games and music instruments. They're holding lessons, and it's a space for dances and performance halls. It just opened a couple of weeks ago, so that addresses that if you weren't aware of it.
Yeah, that's great, because I know I may have fallen into that pocket. You know, I wasn't athletic, but at least we had a theater back then.
Right.
You know, to go to in a movie or some other outlet for kids.
Well, and I just was thinking with a few people today about just the ski hill being open is making a huge difference for our families and our kids this year, and that doesn't always happen. And I think our mentor program has done a great job in having extra stuff. You know, there's a prevention program through the juvenile department, and kids don't have to be on probation. It started out to be real anger management, but it's also that connection, and they do a summer program for kids in our library. I mean, I think there are things, but I think there is a void. I think that there are some other things we always have to keep in mind, and what could we do, and yeah.
And I can tell you, this is somebody that represents juvenile folks in the juvenile justice system. I would say about 90%, 80 to 90% of the kids that go through that preventative thing that the county runs never end up in the juvenile system. Or if they do end up in it first, you know, if it's a first time offense and they haven't gotten the services beforehand, it makes them a lot more successful on probation. Patty Barnhart really put together a great program, and her successor has really done a good job stepping up. So it's been incredible, especially, and they were able to get kids in on things like MIPs and stuff where it's not as serious, but maybe they have to get drug and alcohol treatment or whatever, and it really, yeah. And again, we also, when I started in high school, we were losing a kid a year to a drunken accident, and we haven't had that in a long time. So yeah, it was one death a year up until about my sophomore year, and then that kind of shocked some folks into whatever. But I do worry that we could see that again if things don't, because we saw a lot of MIPs the last couple of years on the juvenile side of things, and some of them to the level of kids almost having to be hospitalized over. So.
I think the work we've done with our elected programs this year is another outlet for kids to go to too. We've seen, an increase in strength in the FFA program, the music program, and so on.
Yeah.
When I went to Lakeview High School, I was too crazy to be an athlete. So FFA saved my life. So it's, there are a number of other good programs in Lakeview High School that address the non-athletic kid.
I'm
Which
thinking
would have
more
been
about the
really bad.
weekends, the Friday night, the Saturday night, that extra time on their hands. I think that the school is working to do a really good job and provide stuff for kids, but then there's, and that's where the movie theater, the town could maybe, and like you're saying, they open something, and that's great.
It's a nonprofit, or I guess they're working towards their nonprofit, but it's a collective of a 7-member board that's led by Deb Watts that coordinate all events that are held there. There's at least 2 adults to supervise at all times. They're holding music lessons, they're holding weekly chess club, they've got a ping pong table in there, a video game set up, music instruments, so it's...
All ages? They're not
Yeah, so it's for little kids. There's a room set up just as a teen lounge as well, so they can separate little kids from big kids. It's a place after school for kids to hang out.
Great.
Or have you got to use some of the week?
Who's in charge of that?
Deb Watts leads the 7-member adult board. There's also a 7-member student board that coordinates a lot of the activities involved.
Yeah, I volunteered to help.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. If you have any questions, just come see me or give me a call if you have anything else.
Well, it's interesting, they ask where they get the marijuana, they don't ask where they get the alcohol. I mean,
Friends.
I thought they did. I thought there was.
is it,
And then it has perception as well, like how you perceive.
maybe
How
I
you
could
drink,
go
how you perceive.
so far enough here, I'm sorry. Or perceive risk of substance. Well, it's gonna be curious, that marijuana, because it has in there a ticket from the parents.
I agree, I think it'll be
Yeah.
very interesting to see next year where that trends.
I will put out there too that if it's another student gives another student marijuana or another drug without telling them, it's a felony and it's a serious. I mean, it's on the adult score. It can actually send you to prison with not much of a record. So that is a big. So if some kid brings brownies to school that have marijuana in them and give them to another kid without telling them what's in it, it's really, really serious.
So do we talk about that, like we do the Measure 11 thing? That was a while ago. Have we talked about that as well? The marijuana?
Yeah, I think it came up in our discussions when OSBA put all that information out on those initiatives, and basically OSBA, once again, they reiterated and spelled it out that yes, it may be legalized in Oregon on school grounds. It's, from a federal standpoint, it is still against the law, so schools are federally funded, partially federally funded and everything, so it is still against the law on school property, on school premises.
But are we doing some educational piece within our students?
Like
Well, I
what
believe
Jeff
there are.
just
Health
Our
classes.
health classes.
Classes as well.
Yeah.
And it may be a good idea to have
As far
law
as-
enforcement come into the juvenile department and talk about some of the legal ramifications, because like I said, I mean, kids can think they're sharing something, because it is a misdemeanor now, it's not a felony like it used to be for just giving, if you tell another kid, but the big one is, if you don't tell somebody else that's in there, and if somebody wants to get really snarly, especially if the 2 kids decide to have intimate relations, that's date rape. I mean, it's the same thing as, giving somebody alcohol or slipping them roofies, especially with some of the edibles, so it gets, there's some real issues with some of that people don't. It's kind of like getting in the school year, fighting breaking somebody's nose and not realizing a kid could go to prison for 75 months. It's some real time bombs.
We probably should be doing a better job at the elementary school with that. I don't think that we've had a measure of until, I know we haven't this year, and I don't know, did they have one last year, Will?
No.
And sometimes the teachers will gauge the maturity of the kids,
Right.
and I think this year with this group, we probably should. They're not real naive, they're pretty versed in some of these things.
Yeah.
As we have a couple sixth graders from probation, and so we probably should be having that talk. So I'm glad Jeff brought that up, because I probably should get them going on that.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, don't hesitate to refer a kid to the juvenile system if you think they're starting to have some problems. Again, that program, they are always willing to take more kids on, so get a kid into that before it turns into that issue, because again, we would much rather deal with them on a low key, and they'll see them all 4 years if they need to. There are kids that have kept with that program in the North Lake and whatever for all 4 years, and that's enough of the bridge if their parents aren't able to provide for their needs to get them out of the system, because knowing the juvenile justice system isn't as harsh as the adult, but it still leaves somewhat of a mark, and there are some professions that can still, especially if the kid wants to do the military or some of the other stuff, it can still have some adverse effects on some of those types of things later on.
Jeff, now I know there's an age, what is the age on that for
12
elementary?
to 12 to 13, I believe.
It's somewhere there.
I believe it's 13 actually is the official. That's the old,
It
yeah.
is, but they need
yeah.
to know what they're getting into.
Right.
Yeah,
We did that last year with Kurt, he can come to your school. He's
Yeah.
good, he has a good presentation.
Did you hear that? You
I
volunteered?
actually, this afternoon, did a presentation on social media again. So I worked in social media for several years. I was a part of the original staff of MySpace when it launched in 2005. So I've been involved, I've been a social media manager for multiple companies. I'm happy to come in and participate in that in any way I can to help educate.
That'd be wonderful.
That's thank you.
Very good. Well,
You're gonna show us how to use it?
That was part of the conversation this afternoon, was helping out grandparents. Now, how do I turn this thing on?
certainly something to that. Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome, thank you.
Building principal reports.
Sure. Not a lot to report since our last meeting, because we've been out of school for break, but the attendance has remained constant, steady. We did gain some kids at the new year when we returned. We did lose, but I think overall we've gained, and we are going to continue to gain. From what I hear, some families moving in with bunches of kids, so that's good. I think the next report I'm gonna break down each class numbers for you, male, female. Just talk a little bit about each class, maybe a little demographic data for you on what the population of the school, what it looks like in terms of population and numbers and gender. But just the ASB had a lot of the information. The kids before break, we did an avid field day and a fun day on the ski hill, and we are continuing to just really blast forward with avid and with our teacher trainings on Wednesdays and then our school-wide avid on Thursdays with the bullying. We are reapplying for the avid grant that we received last year for $13,500 that goes to training our staff and being able to do all these fun things with the kids. We'll know at the end of February whether we receive the funds again for next year. And there's 10 more schools that are gonna be eligible for that as well, as far as renewal. So we're anticipating receiving those. We are very confident that we're gonna get those. We're planning on another summer institute if we do get those with up to as many as 12 staff. We have a Boise trip planned to a demonstration school in Boise on February 18th, that we're gonna take as many staff as we can cram into the expedition and go watch, spend a day in Boise, looking at the demo school. So we're excited where Avid is going, and you'll hear more as the school year goes about our plans for Avid next year, as we take it even more school-wide.
Well, I decided after our last meeting, I'm not always as articulate as I would like to be. Sometimes I get going really fast, so I know you guys just kind of a real short, this is what's happening at the elementary school, and then I'll just kind of talk you through it, okay?
Thank you.
While you're paying me. All right, we lost 4 kiddos, 2 at Union and 2 in town. So we lost 4, but we gained 6 and another one today. So we have 3 new 6th graders, and kindergartners. They just kind of hit at both ends of the spectrum. But folks that are moving here to come here and have great jobs and are excited about being a part of our community, asking about teaching. We had one family that moved here and their mom's already signed up on classified list, they saw it in the building. So excited about being part of our community. The staff wanted me to let the board know how much they appreciated being able to get the Smarter Balance training out of the way and get that done. The early release day helped quite a bit with that. The holiday programs were very well attended. Union, as usual, we had to put chairs on the floor because the bleachers wouldn't hold everybody. So very well attended. The Fremont and Hay programs were packed. There were people standing all the way around the back for those programs as well. And they were just really well done programs. We had Jason Farnham come. He's a concert pianist right before Christmas time. And he was just, he could play anything. He even played kind of on his back with his hands behind him. And he was just really entertaining for the kids. And they had a great time with it. It was a nice break from Christmas program practice that day. We have first aid training this week for our staff. We're fairly busy with in-service time, and so we schedule another first aid training halfway through the year to grab those elementary staff that need that. And then the 3rd grade is scheduled for a Ross Raglan field trip at the end of January. And like Mr. Crock said, we've been out of school quite a bit of time, and so get back on our feet and get going, that's all we want. Any questions? Thank you.
Well, certainly vouch for those holiday programs. I attended all of them, the high school concert, the middle school concerts, and then all the elementary ones. And just staff and students just did a great job. Really enjoyed going to those things. Like I said, it was great. High school concert, middle school concert, well done.
And I think Nikki Harris, she just was really a trooper. She had strep throat through most of them because they were back to back Monday and Tuesday. And she stayed with it the whole time. They didn't let those kids down or their parents down, so she stayed at work. She was really great.
I don't know, maybe Steve or you or somebody, facilities. I noticed one morning, early in the morning, there was garbage cans on the gym floor, the water leaking. Was just the snow piling up, ice buildup?
Yeah, it was actually, wasn't a roof leak, it was we got Tetro and Sam up on the roof. It was moisture coming in from a vent, from an air handler, and we just sealed the air handler. So it's taking care of that.
I just asked because I think when we talked about facility projects, that roof was on our list somewhere.
Yeah, it is something where you need to have some serious conversations about.
Yeah, the roof is coming to the top.
Yeah. Quickly.
I'm just hoping we can make it through this winter.
A number of years ago, Daryl developed, studied the beams, looked at the beams, and developed kind of a scale of the load of snow on that roof and how much it can take. So we've been very attentive to that. With any kind of snow, we've got Sam up there measuring or shoveling or whatever. And,
The same roof that was
you
on
know,
this.
it kind of hits pretty close to home, you know, in my years in this job, the Lost River Gym roof caved in one of those years during one of those heavy snowpacks. Was on the high school, its roof caved in, gym roof caved in, I think like, probably 92 or 93 in there, something like that.
92, I
But
believe.
it's something we're very attentive to, and we are watching.
Well, that's good though, that it wasn't really just that big.
Yeah. Sigh of relief on that.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, principals.
Financial report.
Okay, so we met last Thursday for our finance committee, and we expanded our finance committee, actually. So it's Annie and Daryl, myself and Will, along with building principals, Steve and Susan and Jesse. And then we also asked Ruth Ann to come as part of the certified union, along with Juanita for the classified union. So as we kind of get going, the idea behind it is that when we get down to budgeting and filling in all of those budget worksheets, it might be a little bit easier with everybody's input, and get the knowledge into the buildings as to what's there, what's not there, what's important, and what we have to get done, what we don't, you know, what we can delay, whatever, etc. So we expanded our options on the finance committee to include those folks, and I think it worked well. I think we had a good dialogue and got a lot of things out there. So with that, I reported to them on the end of November. We had collected $2,436,000, which of course $2,018,000 is property taxes, which we are pretty much a 90% collection county. So we get a lot of it in November. Then on the expenditure side, at the end of November, again, the payroll was a little bit higher than what we normally have, and that is due to that HRA account that we are fully funding, front funding at this point. We actually, our monthly expenditures was $616,000 projected, and we actually did $621,000. So we were a little bit higher, but we, again, payroll, we expected that to happen. Or I did, I guess. Our ending fund balance, which is on the third page, $3,839,000 is what we have sitting at the bank at the end of November. So we're sitting in pretty good shape. I figured it out as far as where we were this time last year to date. And I think we are sitting a little bit ahead of the game right at the moment, which is a good thing. We do have textbook adoptions, and we discuss those kinds of things in there. So with that was the long and the short of it at the end of November. December is going to be a little bit higher, I project. As far as our expenditures, we did pay a big chunk of that thus far as part of almost the final payment, second to the last final payment. So, and I do believe, if my memory recalls correctly, I just did the revenue for December. I think we were about $900,000. So we were up quite a bit in December. So I think we're sitting pretty well for right now. Any questions?
That last sentence.
You're okay. It's all good.
Very good, thank you. Audit report.
Okay, so I wanted to bring a few things to your attention. You did get your audit booklet there tonight. I just got those in the mail. Now, you can either keep those, but remember we need them for budgeting generally. So if you want, you can turn them back in. If you don't think you'll make it back with them.
Just some light reading.
Yeah, or if you really want to intrigue yourself, there's a lot of reading in there. We actually had a good audit. They, of course, nitpicked our office. That is, I fully expected that, and I think I tried to brace most everybody for that. I knew my first full year here, they're gonna tear it apart. So we fully expected that. They did have a finding. I disagreed with it, but it's fine. A couple of things happened in there. Basically, it's a material weakness and internal control over financial reporting. And what that entailed was timely reconciliations and approval of reconciliations. The long and the short of it, about October, November, our worlds were rocked in that district office. You guys are well aware of that. So in that time period, I was down one person and not covering all the bases. So yes, we were probably a little bit further behind than we wanted to be. However, you know, we were not months and months and months behind, obviously. The other thing that they did not like, they like it now, but they didn't like it at the time, was the fact that our financial statements were lumped sum cash. So we have accounts, of course, with local banks here, and with the state pool up in Salem. On our accounting software, it is lumped into one cash account. It makes it difficult to reconcile anything. It takes forever to figure out which bank it might be off at. So what Patty and I done is went backwards to July 1 because we knew we had a solid number for each bank account, and backed into that number coming forward, so that January 1, when we switched that over, making each bank account its own, then we had that solid January 1 number that we needed. How we did that, they did not care for. We went backwards. They, you know, it's just one of those things. They just nitpicked it apart. So they know we've corrected it. We've had lengthy discussions about how we came forward, and of course, you know, my office is back intact again. So things are smoothly coming out, which means that Patty and Amy are strictly check cutters. They cut all the checks. I have one of you guys, plus Mr. Cahill, signing checks, and I'm reconciling every month. So, and then it goes back to Mr. Cahill, and he signs off on it. So, so we've got that process in play. They know that, but didn't mean they didn't put it in my report. So that is the finding, and that was the bulk of it. The only other thing that was mentioned that wasn't, this is more just a side note, that the time cards were tested. Out of 60 time cards, we noted 12% were not signed by employee and 30% were not signed by a supervisor. So that comes back to, we've harped on the buildings, and anybody who submits a time card, we make sure employee, and Patty is kicking those back and saying, get everybody's signature on those. Payroll reports were all approved except for November, but again, everything was kind of in a ruckus at that point. Daily membership, which we've always struggled with, didn't seem to be an issue this year as far as half-time students, CYC students mixing in our pot and doubling up or whatever. Student body funds, they were completely thrilled with those as far as having a check cutter and somebody else signing. So they were thrilled with that.
It seems like for years and years and years, those two items have been, they've always found findings.
Yeah.
Attendance and the ASB accounts.
Yeah.
It was a very happy relief this year just to see that we came out well on those.
Were there any repercussions or we just fix them?
No, we just fix them. Move on. Yeah. And they, like I said, they know that what we had done to fix them prior, because they were very late coming. Usually July they're in auditing, and it just didn't work this year. They were in at the end of September. So we had already put in play all these fixtures that we could fix. And, there, too, it was a lot of change, and that's what keys them in, is when you have somebody that's been there for 30 years, they do it one way and have done it that way for 30 years, and then you have somebody else that comes in new, and you do it just a slight bit different, even though you come to the same conclusion at the end of the day. They want to look at all of that. So, honestly, I'm pleased with the audit. I think that, everything did go well outside of the finding, but that's on me, so.
And the finding had to do with the process of the reconciliation. It did not have to do with amounts, correct?
Correct.
It was simply the
Correct.
process of getting there.
Correct, yeah. The amounts tied to a T, it wasn't a matter of misappropriation, it was not a matter of something was missing, it was a matter of how the process worked,
Yeah.
so.
Right. Which it did work, it's just they didn't.
Yeah, it was just a little backwards the
So-
way they wanted it.
I would say if that's all they found, that's a pretty, audit.
And the big deal would be is if it didn't get fit, if they tried to make it next year, that would be the problem. They're always usually gonna find some little thing. If you fix it, there's always room for improvement, so that's kind of the, and I would expect they're gonna hammer Janet again next year at the same level of fine tooth comb, because until you've been doing it 3 or 5 years, I talked to some other districts that had some of that stuff. She's gonna be under the microscope for a while,
And that's
but
a-
she'll shine.
And as a prior auditor my own self, I would expect that. I mean, I would do the same thing, so I was fully prepared for him to come in and,
It makes this better, that's
yeah.
constructive criticism, so good job.
So with that, down below in new business, you'll see acceptance of audited financial statements. Again, we went through this, Daryl, Annie, and myself, and Mr. Cahill, we went through the financial statements in our finance committee. That's another one of those things where we kind of alleviate that burden, explain the stuff to them. We went through the financial statements, our ending cash balance of 1.6 million, so we had carryover. So all of those things, we went through that in our finance committee. And I'd like to continue to do that just so that we don't have the burden here and be here for 3 hours. Because if you look through there, you could be here easy. So we did go through that. I think we're fairly confident with the results and how they stated everything. I know I've been through it twice, proofing it.
So you're talking about this.
Yeah. And then the audited financial statements are at 10.5, and we just need, when we get to that,
That's what we're approving.
yeah.
But I did ask today, so usually Oster comes and goes through this with us.
Right.
We've sat through that before, you've not had that pleasure. But because of the weather,
We couldn't make it.
well, so that's why I'm in the finance committee, unless Pete, of course, would you like to come? Yeah, that's true.
And Daryl and I went through on Thursday, a lot of it. I think even after you.
So we're comfortable with that approval?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question, okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Job well done, too. Nice. That's good on. Old business,
We have none.
new business.
I'm pleased to announce this evening that it is Board Recognition Month. And it is at times, I'm sure, a thankless job, but we appreciate everything you do, the hours you put into service to the school district, and your thoughts, your insights, your volunteerism, and everything is much appreciated by myself and the entire school district. So thank you for the great job you do representing the school. Got a couple things to go through. Just the pomp and circumstance of the thing this evening. I have a proclamation from the governor. It arrived today, and here it goes. Whereas Oregonians rely on public education to ensure a prosperous quality of life, and strong economic health for Oregon. And whereas locally elected boards fulfill leadership roles and serve as the conduit through which teachers, parents, businesses, and communities demonstrate the care, creativity, and support that lead to student achievement. And whereas public schools nurture and train diverse student populations to the best of their ability, whatever the resources to give the students the knowledge, skills, and opportunities they need to succeed. And whereas board members build the framework that makes it possible for education organizations to teach Oregon's children. And whereas the committed men and women who serve on the boards of Oregon's 197 districts, 19 education service districts, 17 community colleges deserve recognition and thanks for their dedication to the education needs of the people of Oregon. Now therefore, Kate Brown, Governor of the State of Oregon, hereby proclaims January 2016 to be School Board Recognition Month in Oregon, and encourage all Oregonians to join in this observance. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the Great Seal of Oregon to be affixed and done at the Capitol in the city of Salem, the state of Oregon, on this day, January 7th, 2016. Kate Brown, Governor, and Jeannie Atkins, Secretary of State. So, round of applause for You have some goodies on the table from Union School this evening, and you have some healthy things over here, potato chips and dip and everything. I don't know what the definition of healthy is. We should have brought the SWET committee in this evening to analyze that, but I will let you decide, as far as the health aspect of your treats this evening. So thank you, board. We have some certificates here to give out. Union School did some very lovely artwork. Pete. Pete. Thank you. Sir?
Pretty good.
Thank you, board. And we will see to it Mr. Anderson receives his.
I told the Fremont Hay folks that this was kind of a draft place, so they made you guys a couple posters. This one is from the first graders. It says, "Thank you for going the extra mile," and I told you guys to choose. And then this one says, it's a little harder to read, "Thank you for the helping hand." And this is from the second graders. Is it okay with the board if I put them on that bulletin board back there?
Please do. Thank you. Well, thanks. Field biology post-trip request.
Mr. Crock.
See in your packet a letter from Mr. Counts, our field biology teacher, requesting permission for an overnight field trip for his field bio class on April 24th to 27th. He's worked with Mr. Hamilton on scheduling this, where we're trying to get, if there's any conflict with the students involved in activities, that we're going to make sure that we've arranged that there hopefully will not be any conflict. I know that there's potential conflict with the Shakespeare play that our juniors and seniors go on, that was the only date that we could buy enough tickets. So there may be a potential conflict there. But this is a trip that Mr. Counts goes on annually. Kids really enjoy the coast and the marine biology focus, something that they can't obviously get here in Lake County. So it's a good trip, and would hope that the board would continue to support that. Primarily paid for through funds that are in the ASB account fundraised, and I also throw some enrichment dollars at them provided by the ESD. And the subs we budget for teacher coverage.
And does just science this year, not art?
Not art.
Yeah, I do.
Do they have any questions? Okay.
You ready for a
I'm
motion?
ready.
I move that we approve the overnight LHS field biology coast trip request for April 24th through 27th, 2016, as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the coast trip request. Do we have any other discussion?
Be nice if we presented when they came back to the board.
Will do.
Now, if we have to adjust the date for the Shakespeare conflict, or is it, that's not?
We're
This is
still,
it.
we'll try to avoid it, but it's,
Would we have to do another approval? Should we include in our motion the date change, so that you don't have to come back?
well, I think with the way that I read the policy, you're approving the overnighter.
Yeah, if you're just,
And it's a
if you're just
tentative.
approving the trip period, you're fine.
Okay, so dates are,
Yeah.
okay. So, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Sixth grade field trip, request approval.
This is order.
I am here on behalf of our 3 sixth grade teachers. We have 6 kiddos at Union, so they'll be going. Last year I didn't have any 6th graders when I was out at Union. So, they are very close to reaching their budgeted amount that they need, and they're in the process of booking all of their sites that they'd like to go to. They're just about done booking everything, and they are selling oranges as we speak, so they're $20 a box. Feel free to contact your local 6th graders. They come in on Thursday. It's an annual trip that enhances our 6th graders' view of the world. They have science pieces of it. They are visiting the Capitol this year, which we haven't always been with larger classrooms. They focus on all kinds of things. We haven't always been able to go to the tide pools, for example, because of the weather permitting, and they are planning on going to those again. Both universities, which I think is invaluable for those kiddos to look at those universities. They've seen them on TV, they've heard about them. Very few of our kids have been to a game or to the campuses, and they start talking to kids or meeting kids from Lakeview that go there, and think about their futures a little bit, even though they're just 6th graders. They do start thinking about that a little bit. They plan to go back to the Hatfield Marine Science Center, which puts on some really great classes. Those kids get to dissect squid, they have craft races and talk about adaptations. They just really have an amazing trip planned thus far. So I would urge you to approve the annual 6th grade field trip. Do you have any questions?
3 6th grade teachers get together.
Any other discussion or questions? I know, it's good. I had a lot.
We have some veterans here on board.
Yeah. Yes.
I move that we approve the overnight 6th grade field trip request for May 16 through 19, 2016. Student release time, 2 buses at the ODE State Reimbursable Education Bus Mileage Rate as presented.
I'll second that.
Perfect.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded
Spot
to
on, Mr.
approve the 6th grade field trip request. All those in favor?
They appreciate
Aye.
it.
Motion carries. Very good. All right, Division 22 standard approval.
This every year, OAR Division 22 is the standard set forth that we have to go through standard by standard. You have this in your packets, folks. I don't think it's in your computer.
No, it's sitting underneath your agenda on your desk. Unfortunately, it's not one that we can do with the computer. You have to get us to handwrite it, so.
Everything related to the operation of the school district is related to law and what we have to provide, and just everything in general as far as like student. I'm not going to, unless you want me to, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it starts off for education, assess, I'm just kind of picking and choosing here, assessment of essential skills, extended diploma, age 2, there's such things as equal education opportunities, which we are very much in compliance with. 12:15, literacy education construction, spot on that. So everything pretty much these days is tied to the Common Core, which really, reinforces and strengthens our delivery of instruction. The one down here where I think the library, educational media, we were concerned for a while. I'm trying to find it on here. Rebecca, can you see it on here?
1520 is
Ready to
media
go.
programs.
Yeah, but that's the library. 1520, thank you, Senator. Years and years of school cuts and everything, it seems like across the state of Oregon, as budgets were being cut, so were certified librarians. In this district, we had a certified librarian for years and years and years, and then kind of the last round of cuts, about 2007, 2008, our certified librarian, through attrition went out of the budget. So what we've done, in order to remain standard on the media program aspect of Division 22, is that the ESD contracts with a certified media specialist, and she comes down periodically throughout the year, I think 3, maybe 4 times a year, meets with our media specialists in our libraries to make sure our libraries are standard. So I've heard good things about her. I think she's done some good things as far as keeping this, within the standards, and also assisting our librarians or our media specialists as far as selecting materials, discarding materials, and kind of keeping us up to date on that aspect. So that's the one thing I think, thanks to ESD, we managed to stay up to standard on. The rest of them, I went through standard by standard by standard. We are in compliance. If you'd like to pull one out and talk to the group about it this evening, I welcome that. I've matched a lot of these up with district policy. Rebecca and I had to fill out a report last week, a very lengthy report addressing some of these standards. I had the building principals in last week. We went through Division 22 as well. And this is my annual report. I guess the summary of my annual report is that Lake County School District 7 is in compliance with Division 22 standards.
You do need to talk about 1030, Will, the district goals.
District goals, yes, we will have those in the next work session, so they aren't in there tonight, but they will be a part of it, so. They have been in their own development and will be a part of this, so. Questions? Very lengthy list. In fact, Rebecca and I looked at it, they have expanded it from last year by
Significantly.
significantly, yeah.
It was
Quite
only
a number of
five
standards.
things we had to do last year. So now it's up to this whole checklist. Yeah.
We spent a good chunk of our week last week going through Division 22, so.
Up from 5.
And it's not even what it used to be, I guess, years and years ago. They're phasing it back.
Yeah, yeah. For a while, they left it at 22, like I said, putting it back in full force.
Okay, what's the difference? 1510 and 1512? What are they? What are these?
1510, you say?
1510 and 1512?
And 15 what?
12.
Bonnie, why don't you jump in? 1510 is comprehensive guidance and counseling, and 15.
Midway through the second page.
1512 is child development specialist programs. I know what it is, but I want you to give the educated answer.
Okay, so the comprehensive guidance counseling program, Brandy and I are both licensed through the counseling, through the, TSBC for counseling, and we use the American Association, School Association of School Counselors, so we follow their standards, so that's where that comes. And then for the other one, that one, would you say it was
Child
behavior?
development specialist.
Child development specialist. Brandy, when she first came to the district, was licensed as a child development specialist, so she still has that licensing. So the district supports both of those licenses to provide counseling services in the district. Does that answer it? Do you think that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering what it
They're probably the same thing that you have to have a license to do.
That's.
It's
that's
just
very
different, and
true,
then they
yeah.
have a different ethical, I mean, they're probably, the ethics are probably not different, but their standards, like what standards they use for each, but they probably are very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Is there an age range differential between the two of those two? Like one's more younger kids maybe, and one's, or it's this full range?
It's full range, it's just they kind
Yeah.
of different things that you can do. I know that, like in counseling, when you're a behavior specialist, you can't do scheduling and career education,
Right.
but you can do all the other stuff that a licensed school counselor does,
Right.
but those two things. So that was the only difference that I'm
Well,
aware
another
of.
thing too, the counseling program used to run the assessment programs too, and child development specialists could not be a part of that.
Part of that either, yeah.
So, child development specialists was very limited in what they could do. They're basically strict counseling, end of story, none of the other outlets that a typical counselor does. You know, career education and assessment and all those other things. So those other hats that a counselor wears.
You see a lot more behavior specialists probably at the elementary level, because high school, middle school use more, we use psychiatric services or psychological services, but they can be anywhere, so.
Okay.
Lots of things on there. Any questions? Be happy to entertain them.
We talked about a lot of this policy. But I don't think so.
One more, sorry. 1366, what's the annual credit hour cap?
Expanded options?
Expanded options program, annual credit.
Oh,
hour.
congratulations, that's you.
So, several years ago, the state of Oregon said that we had to have an expanded options program for students. And so sophomores and juniors, we send a letter out to them, the principal, it comes from the principal's office, and it talks about that we as a district can provide college credits to those students. And so it has to be for kids who we don't offer those classes, or maybe not college-bound kids or more at-risk kids. And so there's some criteria that you look at, and then you hook those kids up with the college classes. So we pay for either the class and books, or usually we pay for both, the class and books. And so it's our expanded options program. So we have a few kids every year that do that. And what we say is, you need to start with one class and see if you're successful, and then they can take more. The most a student has taken is 3 classes for like 6 credits.
And are these AP or they're not AP?
They're not AP, no, they're just college credits. Some of our kids have done online classes, not through KCC, because this goes back a little bit farther than when KCC was here. And some have used it now for the synchronized classes over here. So it's different than the advanced diploma too, because those are kids that have already met graduation requirements. These are, you can apply at the end of your sophomore year and take those your junior and senior.
So these classes that they take, are they credits towards their college work, or are they just credits towards high school?
They can receive both. They can have high school credit for them and college credit for them.
Andy, do you remember when we were in high school, they were offering Latin and some of those kinds of programs through like the satellite, marine biology, those are what that program consists of, through the satellite, the synchronous satellite classroom that we used to do and some of the other. So that's what some of those cover, not just as traditional online, but even farther back before even the online stuff was available.
Okay, yeah, they were separate. So
Yeah,
there
you
was
showed
online
up with
and
like
then there was
0
Treasure
period
Valley
types.
and-
Yeah. Mhm.
Dusty's field biology class, I don't know if it's still there, but it did, when Pierce was here, he took it, and then he also took it as a college credit, so
Correct.
it met his requirement, but then he had an extra credit for college in biology that he could apply as he goes forward if it fits somewhere. You have to pay to take it for that credit, but he was taking field biology anyways, and like Dusty said, if you're taking it,
a couple though, that weren't English.
Well, that's definitely something that we can bring back to you guys is, you know, kind of where our advanced placement kids have been, who's doing no credit, not what kids, but what classes are being taken, what classes are being taken for expanded option. I mean, if you guys would like to see that, I mean, we keep a notebook, we have a little notebook of everything that we keep, and we have some spreadsheets, and so we can bring that back.
Can we go ahead and put that as an agenda for next meeting as a report?
In February.
Yeah.
And I can ask
It'd be good
questions.
for you to see that, because there's a lot of opportunity in this area for kids, so.
And I think it changes kind of as our staff has changed, and I know that we've, you know, kept some stuff at OIT and some at KCC, so that'd probably be something you guys would be interested in seeing, you know, kind of why we made those decisions.
What do you want me to call that? Dual credit?
Dual credit,
Don't
advanced
expanded
diploma,
options.
expanded option, I guess it's all.
I don't know, I think I'm good. All right.
I'm good.
So do you have a motion?
I move that we approve the verbal presentation of the Division 22 standards as presented by Superintendent Will Cahill.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the Division 22 standards. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Can you guys advise me who made the motion and who seconded that, please? Danny and
Yeah, second.
Thank you so much.
Okay, acceptance of audited financial statements.
Yes, as I mentioned previously, total in the general fund is $7,845,000 in revenue. We expended $7,452,000 in expenses, which left us with an ending fund balance of $1,641,980. Like I said before, we went through it in the finance committee as a basic few details.
Purpose of the committee.
That's right. They had their undivided attention. Lots of questions. Well, not really, but.
You had us captured there.
That's right, right?
Okay.
They were calculated.
Yeah. Let us let you long here.
I move that we approve the audited financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2015 as presented.
I'll second it. Okay, moved and seconded to accept the audited financial statements. Any further questions? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Confidential staff resignation.
The yellow there, you guys got it.
Either Janet or I, well, with a heavy heart, I announced the resignation of Doug Tatro. He's been, a retired employee, but we did bring him back with his vast knowledge and skills of everything in this district. And it's very tough to say goodbye to Mr. Tatro. He has been such an integral part of our maintenance in this district for so many years. And I will say this, I'm wishing, I'm sorry to see him leave, but I wish him very, very well in his retirement. You think, Dad? Did I cover it?
You got it.
Okay. Got the essence of it, huh?
Yes, you did.
Okay, all right.
Captured it.
Well, I think I made the motion the last time I retired, so
I move that we approve.
So you have pretty well recruited.
February 20th, 2015, with the appreciation for his years of service to the district as presented.
Yes. Much appreciation. February 20th. For some reason, I was thinking it was.
Yeah, effective February 20th.
The February 20th is the end of the team period.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve Mr. Tatro's retirement.
It's resignation because he's already retired.
Okay, his resignation. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, with our thanks, great thanks for his service to this district. 10.7, superintendent evaluation procedure approval.
So we just need to decide if this is the process that you guys want to continue to use to evaluate the superintendent. I would assume that's what you'd like, but I didn't know if you guys had anything else that you would like to look at. This is what OSBA puts out. This is the one that was put out as and updated as of June 14th, 2014. And so whatever we decide to do, you just have to approve in an open session that that's the process you're going to use. And then we'll move forward with that as the time comes. So I'm putting it out here as a first reading. If you guys are good with it, we'll move forward with it. If you would like to look at other options, then we can halt the process and look at other options. I am not familiar with anything else out there that they're recommending that we use outside of OSBA, but it is your call.
So the superintendent evaluation is supposed to be done by March something?
It's actually inside the packet there. It tells you the date timeline on the procedure.
Sorry.
So I guess my question is we just did a superintendent evaluation.
What we just did was technically just make a decision as to whether or not you wanted to keep him permanently, and we didn't do any numbers and we didn't have enough data, but we used that as our guiding process to do that, so it wasn't
I'm not
official.
sure that I'm gonna have any better data or numbers in a month from now.
You mean the last 3 weeks,
Haven't given you a bright light of information.
I mean, I guess I felt like our process was fairly in-depth for the evaluation of our superintendent, to the point that we offered him a permanent job in that position. If that suffices, I would be happy with not doing another one.
We have to, sorry, from the last.
So we just pull it off the shelf.
But it's March 15th, the board and superintendent need to discuss and clarify the results. So February is when we start.
So basically what we need to do is take what we did and update it into a code format.
And add numbers to it.
And add the numbers.
It shouldn't be
We did
too
most
time
of the
consuming.
You got the groundwork laid anyway, so.
So my suggestion to you guys would be amend your motion to that you are authorized to use the results from the last one and move them into the new framework, so you're not having to totally reinvent the wheel and not look like you're following the process. So modify it so that way you're allowed to take what you've already done and apply it towards the standards in the new one. So maybe you might be able to save yourself some work that way.
I'll second that one.
Okay, so,
Here's what I would say. I move that we approve using the current OSBA process, but that we also are authorizing the board to use the results from the hiring decision of Mr. Cahill as the underlying data to inform that process, or something along those lines. Or you're allowed to use the data to, so you're not having to start completely from scratch.
okay. Yep.
From the 2015 hiring process or hiring evaluation.
Yeah,
Let's see what, I know it's getting late. Okay. I move that we approve the OSBA 2014 superintendent evaluation procedure as presented for the 2015-16 superintendent evaluation, and that we approve to use our data from the superintendent evaluation for Mr. Cahill's hiring process in our future evaluation for March 15th, 2016.
Or something.
It's a mouthful.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the evaluation procedure and to allow us to incorporate the information from Mr. Cahill's review from the hiring process.
Perfect.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion. Okay. Consent agenda.
Folks, as presented, the proposals are in your packets, so you can go ahead and move to accept those, or you can pull something out and discuss it.
They would have had to pull it out when we amended the,
Say it again.
they would have had to pull it out when we amended the
Oh,
agenda
okay.
at the beginning
All
of
right,
the.
thank you. I forgot about that.
Has to stay.
Old habits die hard.
We'll get there. We're
So I
getting
move
there.
that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All those in favor? Announcements?
I have none.
Next board meeting agenda items.
So we've already created the work session, so we've got that set, and then I just have the dual credit advanced diploma and expanded options report for February. Anything else that you principals would like added to the February report?
Lonnie, will you come with that information next time or the time after?
Yeah.
It'll be the February.
I want to present that.
Okay.
I suspect we will have something on DMS for the February meeting.
The
The
elevator, okay.
Yeah, the elevator.
Rebecca, maybe the playground, I probably should have done that this time, but can we do an update for the ADU
ADU
playground?
playground? Absolutely.
Okay.
We should have done that.
Did you guys have 3 bids for the, security system?
Security system.
Oh, the phone.
Phone.
Oh, the phone system. So, we went back and had to have them rebid. A couple of them had left off the intercom system after we got the looking at it.
Paint bids,
That's gonna be the next fiscal year, so that's a totally another, that's a next year budget situation.
what about just the bidding, just the
It will
prices?
be, it will be bidding, yes, but it will be, budget discussion on that when we get around to, working on the budget. Those will come out in the finance committee. So what we will do is take those bids and do them as we'll prioritize what we need to get done.
So she will be giving them, so we'll have those figures for that discussion. Rather than-
Yeah.
I was just asking
about numbers.
Yeah.
Because you had said this was a slow time to catch people to do the bids, so that was.
Correct, but so it's, I mean, it's just a process.
I've also asked Mr. Reese to look at other ways to communicate with classrooms, in the way of computers, if there's some link or computer link to, communicate with staff out in our classrooms in the event of emergency or something. So I've asked him to look into that as well.
It's guide.
That's something that will make the computer come on and gain their attention. And he actually does think there are some programs out there as such.
I'd recommend, you might want to talk to the I Love You Guys folks, because they may know of an app or something like that that may shorten the search. Their website may even have something like that.
Well, and in one of the bids that we just got, resent all the information back into them on, they did say that there was like an emergency, a certain classroom, if they called 911, and it alerts every single computer system and it will flash up on their screen. So there are things out there, and that was one of the things that I asked about, is if it could tie in with I Love You Guys.
Okay.
So we're kind of technically starting it over, because I think we have a better idea now what we wanted, and plus we caught that there was no so my 3 bids were inaccurate. Or one of them was.
Anything else for our next board meeting?
We adjourn.
Are you making that motion, sir?
We did. I'll second. All in favor?